let's talk about something that does affect business owners. We've talked about it on the podcast before. We have our own perspective on this, and we've been able to navigate this successfully. So I do want to talk about this. I've had more conversations about this in the last 2 or 3 weeks than I'm proud to talk about or admit. But DEI, the woke nature of employees taking over organizations, is becoming a huge problem. And I want to go around and talk about this. There's a lot of different aspects to this that we have in the chat right now, so we can go wherever we need to go. But I want to preface this by saying that when a company is controlled by its employees, it's really hard to control the direction of the business, number one. Number two, I think why DEI is so interesting. If you don't know what DEI is, by the way, it's diversity, exclusion, and inclusion. What is it?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I found the article too.
The diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second reason why this is very important for business owners to be in tune with is that I think that there's like this huge hypocrisy that the DEI community is forcing companies to be more inclusive, have diversity. If I can't hire or fire based on these diversity metrics, then why am I forced to have them in the first place? Like, for example, if I can't hire or fire Mike because he's Mexican, then or a minority.
Or Indian.
Well, by definition, 95% of all my employees are Indian, Mike.
Mike, what are you?
I'm Indian.
But why am I measured on the diversity of my employment base or the amount of women that are in my board or whatever? Now, we're not saying the diversity is not important. We're just saying that if we're being judged to hire and fire on merit and not on race, gender, sexual class, orientation, blah, 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 then why is that important to have that be the makeup of our organizations, our boards, etc.? It is a double standard. It makes no sense. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So you can't have both of them at the same exact time. So I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about this. You have some really large global companies. Basically, the employees have a chokehold on these organizations, Disney being the most specific. But so many organizations are struggling with this issue from the inside out. And we have been successful, I would say, thus far, knock on wood, to be able to navigate this in a healthy, productive way. I'd love to share my thoughts once we go around the table. But this is an important topic that I think leaders have to own and can't just let this happen and let this be, because it will take control from the inside out. So let's go to Mikey first, and then we'll go around.
I can make mine short. You said everything that I really believe about this. At the end of the day, it's merit based, and at the end of the day, like, the government requires us to not profile. We can't discriminate based on age, religion, race, sex. Yet we're saying we have to hire based on these things. And it's just, anyway, you already said it, but that's my thing at the end of the day. Like, which is it? And we shouldn't discriminate. We should 100% hire based on merit and who's qualified for the job. I don't want to be in a plane with somebody just because they're a female or
right.
Black.
That was the next one. I think it's airplanes. Right? They're hiring pilots based on this.
Yeah. So I just, you said it. That's enough for me. But
how are you communicating this, Mike, in your organization, if at all?
I'm not going to, when I owned my plumbing and heating company, you know how many times an employee would come to me and say, hey, I met the union rep. They want to unionize. And I would just flat out say, if you guys start to unionize, I will shut this business down and I will start over. I'm not even having this conversation because the reality is, from a legal perspective, I'm not worried about getting, canceled as a business owner. I don't need to talk about it. And the reality is, when we go out to hire somebody, this is what's wrong with this whole ideology. When we go out to hire somebody, I don't care if you're Black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're old. I don't care if you're young. I don't care if you're a girl. I don't care if you're a woman that has a penis. Like, I actually don't care. And we're not even allowed to ask this stuff.
Yet which is, yes, you can't even talk about it. You can't even ask. So how are you supposed to add them if you don't know? It's just funny.
Yeah. So I'm not even talking about it. I'm not buying into it. I'm not playing the game. Hire people based on merit. Here's the job description. I don't care if you're green. It doesn't matter to me. Like, so we're not even talking about it. Except here.
Mooch.
You know, so the advice for a normal business owner, right? It's one of the reasons you don't go public, because then, you're not gonna have the choice anymore. But here's the advice as business owners. What it forces everyone to do is it enforces every boss. I remember being a business owner in California, I got this instilled in me. You have to just keep track of stuff in your business. When people do great, you have to write it down. When people do bad, you have to write it down. When people get warnings, you have to write it down. If people skip work, if people come late, like, you need to have this chart. And I have a giant chart that shows who did their start of day emails, who did their end of day emails, what time they got to the office, what days they did sick, what time they left, right? Because what happens is you have to make sure to cover your ass when you do terminate somebody, that you have a clear method and list of, I terminated them because of this. Because there used to be all sorts of other reasons that people would sue, and now it could be for something that you don't even know. So in one sense, that, like, how does a normal business person own it? I think you do what Mike says, is you don't ask anything like that, but you also just keep track of people, because mind you, when you do, also it's the same with housing, right? So we're super careful when we're like doing applications on rents, right? Because someone could and we have to do we can't make an exception for anybody, right? If somebody makes $1 less than income, we can't make an exception, because if you make an exception for, like, when you put somebody in a house or when you evict them, and then you find out later they're in a class that maybe is a protected class now or will be a protected class in the future. I wonder though, in 50 years, like, desegregation was not that long ago, actually, right? Like, desegregation in the US is not that long ago. And when I talk to younger people, like my kids' ages, right? Like, it seems like it's a really easy solution for them. It's a really easy thing. It all makes a lot of sense. Like, and it's the same battle of black and white from many years ago. So I wonder, in 30 or 40 years, if we're going to look back and go, why was this so hard for everybody to come down to, or if we're still going to be there. Who knows when that line goes.
Mooch,
I mean, like,
what do you mean? What is easier? What do you mean?
So meaning, in 10 or 15 years, are we going to look back and go, oh, it actually makes a lot of sense now. I get why that should have been a protected class. Like, we have a lot more. I get why it should have been a thing. I get why we should have cared. I get why we should have given some extra attention to that. Or because I know that 50 or 60 years ago, before desegregation, right? Like, it wasn't that simple. And now it is that simple. You ask us today, like, are Indians, blacks, Mexicans, Hawaii, is everybody the same? Absolutely 100%. Do I look at that at all with hiring? I don't look at it at all with hiring.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this snippet and want to catch the full episode, head over to our YouTube channel, The King's Table Podcast. The link is right down in the description below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, and ring that bell for notifications, and you are not going to want to miss this amazing content that we have for you every Friday. And remember, we love hearing from you, so drop your thoughts, questions, or feedback that you might have in the comments. We read everything, and we want you guys to respond so we can engage with you. It means the world to us. A big thank you for being part of the King's Table community, and if you found value in today's episode, remember that the cost of listening is that you must share it with somebody that may benefit, whether it's your friend, your family, your coworkers. So please keep sharing, keep engaging, and until next time, stay royal.